it's Christiana Gaudet with another answer to your question about tarot reading. Here's a question from Linda. What are your recommendations on beginning a tarot reading with a question from the client? And please address if you would rephrase a question versus let's just see what comes up. There seem to be differing viewpoints on this in the tarot community. Yes, there do seem to be differing viewpoints on this, Linda. And what I'll say first is that it really is up to the reader. This is part of what defines a reader's style. I would never say that there's a right way or a wrong way or that one way is better than the other. In fact, I would say the opposite. I would say that a good reader could do it both ways. Let's talk about that. First of all, you asked about rephrasing the question, and that in itself is a topic that we need to talk about. There is a school of thought that says, oh no, you do not rephrase the question because that's disrespectful of the client. You have to answer the question exactly as the client presents it. I disagree with that. I believe in rephrasing questions. We are the experts. Clients come to us and trust that we have the expertise to help them. So, when would I rephrase a question? I like a question that is empowering to the client. When am I going to get a new job? Is not as empowering as what do I need to do to get a new job and what kind of job would suit me. So a lot of times clients assume that really all we can do is kind of predict a set future. Most of us know that the future is not always set and that what we do today matters. That's why they call it free will. So when we rephrase a question like that, a question about the future, we are often helping to empower the client to use their free will to create their best possible future. So that's one way I would rephrase a question. Another way is sometimes the yes-no questions are not as helpful as a more open-ended question. So sometimes rephrasing a yes-no question to be more open-ended will give tarot room to work the way that tarot works best. I also like to break a question, one question, into many questions. For instance, let's go back to our example of the new job. Client comes in, I've been unemployed for a long time, when will I get a job? Well, I would break that into many questions. What do you need to do to get a job? What job would suit you best? What haven't you tried to do to get a new job? There are many questions there. So I wouldn't just rephrase the question. I would think about a multitude of questions stemming from that one. Sometimes a client asks a question that reveals a deeper insecurity. Will my ex and I get back together? That is going to require a huge number of questions. What was the nature of the relationship? What was the nature of the breakup? Why do you want to get back together with him? How's he feeling? You know, there's a lot of questions there. So, yes, I do rephrase the question, but I understand there are some people who aren't comfortable with that. I think not only is it our right to rephrase the question, it's our duty. And I will often rephrase a question to be many questions that I'll answer one at a time. Now, back to your original question, Linda. Should we begin a reading with a question, or should we just start with, let's see what the universe has to say? Again, I would say there's no right or wrong. And some readers will do something that's almost in between, not asking for a specific question, but sort of, what's the general area of your concern? My favorite way to read is to go into a reading with as little information as possible. I always like to start with an overview. Let's see what we see today. Now, when I do an overview, I use an 11-card Celtic Cross spread. It's my favorite spread. It's actually in both of my books, Fortune Stellar and Tarot Tour Guide, because I think it's such a great spread. It's a modern Celtic Cross, but it covers everything: past, present, future, atmosphere, who the client is at the current moment, hopes and fears, other people around the client, romance, possible final outcome. You're looking at 11 cards. You're going to get a very good sense of a number of issues. So I go through the Celtic Cross and kind of pull out all the different things I think are going on. Generally speaking, people all have questions in, the same areas of their life. We all care about career. We all care about finances. We all care about our families. We all care about the people we love or our love life. We all have creative concerns, spiritual concerns. Maybe all of those things won't show up in an opening spread. But if we realize that people have a lot in common, when you look at the spread, you can see, okay, are there interpersonal issues here? Are there relationship issues? Are there work issues? You can see the concerns. You can see if this reading is going to be more about mundane problem solving, or if it's going to be more about personal growth or spiritual growth or interpersonal situations. You can give the client the themes. And when you look at it, you're going to be curious about certain things. You're going to look at it and say, I would like to know more about the love life or the work life or the client's children. This is where I feel we need to look. So I'll do that overview. And from there, I'll kind of make a list with the client of, I think we need to look at this, 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 and this. And then I'll ask the client, how does that match your agenda? 9 times out of 10, the client will say, yeah, that's my list. Sometimes the client will say, yes, all that, and I have these other questions. And then I go through and I answer each question one at a time. I don't generally do another spread. At that point, I'm dialoguing with the cards. Let's look at this, and I'll pull a few cards. Let's look at that. I'll pull a few cards. That's my favorite way to work. However, sometimes we're doing a very short reading. And in a very short reading, a specific question is helpful to keep it in that time frame. So at that point, the client will ask a question, and normally I will not do a spread to answer a question unless it's a very specific spread for that question, perhaps a spread that I have designed to handle that question. Normally, though, if the question is, tell me about my love life, I'll pull some cards and see about the love life. From there, I'll come up with more questions. Well, what's your boyfriend thinking? Or why are there problems? Or what can you do to solve the problems? I might then do a 3-card relationship spread. Again, a small spread in response to that particular question. So I think that a good reader can handle either technique, starting with an overview, or let's just see what comes up, or answering a question. I think sometimes readers get too stuck in the idea of having to do a large spread for each question. To me, that just doesn't make sense. It's too confusing. It takes too much time. I think every reader should learn how to do a good dialogue with the cards, just feeling that flow and pulling a few cards to answer the question. I do believe in rephrasing questions and, again, asking as many questions as it's going to take. I don't think we should trust our clients to know all the questions they need to ask. They know their area of concern, certainly, and they may have some very specific questions that we need to address, but there are always deeper questions, and we as tarot readers are in the position of finding those questions, asking those questions on behalf of the client, and giving the client all the information they need. So Linda, I hope that answers your question. If you have a question about tarot, email me and I'll make a video.